solution and you figured out the business model and how you're going to make money. So the next thing you have to figure out is how are you going to get this out there? How are you going to get people to know about it? Make sense? Okay, so I'm going to do the talk on go-to-market. Afterwards, we're going to have a talk from an entrepreneur that talked about launching their product and their journey to raising $2 million. And the entrepreneur is Ukrainian. Okay. Yara, is that exciting? Okay. And then, do you remember Peter Henry? He's going to come back and give a talk on tech, team, traction, and trajectory. Like, how do you plan, how do you plan your years of growth? And how do you plan how you're going to go like this, like that. Like Jason told you, some companies go like that, and you guys want to learn how to go like that. All right. And then we will have time here to work. And we actually today have like 5 people coming to be mentors, to come around and walk around and help you. And I've got most of the mentors listed on the mentors list in the participants folder. All right. And so let's go through our talks and then we'll get to work on it. And your teams can really start doing. Try and start creating slides today, because you don't want to wait till tomorrow. Because if you wait till tomorrow, you will spend all night working on your investor pitches. And then on Friday, you'll fall asleep while you're speaking. All right, here we go. Ready for go-to-market? Okay. I am going to go out on a date with George Clooney, just like how you guys are going to get 10 million people to use your platform and stop hating each other. And how you guys are going to help get me and Edward to stop fighting about politics. Okay. Or how that team is going to use quantum to monitor every movement I have and tell me that, Gigi, your glutes are getting loose and you need to do more steps. Right? How are you going to get me to use your app? Just kidding. All right? So that's what go-to-market is about, is you can say you're going to go to this market and you say you're going to go to do this, just like I said, I'm going to go on a date with George Clooney because I really have a crush on him. Raise your hand if you think that I am really going to do this. Okay, only half of you. But what if I tell you my plan? Okay? My go to George plan, which is like a go to market plan, is, do you guys know where George lives in the summer? No. He lives in Italy, in Lake Como. Okay? And one of my friends is Italian, and he told me that George, when he stays there for the summer, he always takes his motorcycle and rides in the hills above Lake Como. And his grandmother lives in a retirement home in the hills. And you know what George does? When he's riding around, he always stops and says hi to these old people. That's why I have a crush on him, because he's nice to old people. Right? Well, this other friend of mine has a home. He's built this kind of home in Lake Como, has 4 units. So he stays in one unit and they rent out the other 3 units to vacationers. And he said that I can have one of his units for a discount. So this summer, I'm going to go and rent this unit in Lake Como from my other friend. And I'm going to go and visit the old people's homes and then teach them English. You know, it's like contributing back to society. Don't you think that's a good idea? And then I'm helping this little old lady, and her name is Vera. Okay. It's Vera. And I was like, oh, yeah, you know, I have a crush on George. She's like, really? He comes and visits us all the time. Oh, can you please text me when he comes and visits? And I'll jump on my Vespa and go, buh, 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 buh. And, oh, hi, George. Fancy meeting you here. Oh, I love your movies. Oh, I love the twins. Oh, it's so exciting you have twins. And you're sort of like your wife, but she's a frickin' Brit. Okay. And he'll go, do you want to come and have lunch and meet my children? There. I'm going to have a lunch date with George Clooney. Does that seem plausible? Okay. How many people of you now believe that I can actually go and have a lunch date with George Clooney? Okay. Do you see? Because I actually have a plausible plan that's believable to get to George Clooney, then you'll believe it. The same thing is if you have a credible strategy and plan to get to your market, to get the market to know about your product and get it to adopt, right? Then the investor's going to believe you guys can actually really do this and succeed. And they're more likely to invest in you. If you say you're going to do something amazing and stop polarization in the world, but you don't really have a credible plan on how you're going to get to all the users and get to all these people who read media, it's a great idea. But yes, you're idealistic. Nice. Nice, Jay. Nice. Okay? So, moving forward about go-to-market have you heard of the term B2C and B2B? Okay, well, what's B2C? Business to consumer, okay? And B2B is business to business. It is referring to who you're selling to. So it's referring to the buyer. So B2C means you're selling something to the consumer. B2B means you are selling something to a business. So let me ask you guys a question. Is Google B2C or B2B? They're B2B. Even though their service is reaching consumers, their customers are businesses who buy marketing. So another way to look at Google is it's B to B to C. Okay, but B to C means you're selling directly to the consumer. Okay, there's different go-to-market tactics that are good for B2B and different good for B2C. And one important thing is, what's the F word? Okay, once again, focus comes into play. If you ever tell an investor you're coming out of the gate and they say, oh, are you B2B? And you go, oh, well, we're B2B and B2C. You might as well stop right there. They will not invest in you. Trying to have a business coming out of the gate when you first launch and you're selling to businesses and you're selling to consumers at the same time is just way too hard. It takes two different types of products, two different types of go-to-market strategies, and you won't be able to do it. So they'll just go, oh, yes, bright young entrepreneurs, very naive. They don't know what they're doing. And they'll sit through your presentation, and they're going, nice. We'll get back to you. And they will never get back to you. Got it? So you can only have one. Oh, shoot. How come it didn't show up? Okay, the last one should be B to G. Okay, so the last thing is as a segment for people who sell to government. It's much smaller, but some companies do that, and I just want to point that out. It's like a missing Gigi. Okay, so one of the things is that when you want to get the market to know about your solution and to help promote it, one of the things that you can do is find a champion. What do I mean by that? Is have you ever seen these Post-it pads? Okay, they're all over. They're ubiquitous. But when the inventor of the Post-it pad was a researcher at 3M, it's a chemical company that does a lot of adhesives. So he thought it'd be kind of good idea to do this adhesive that doesn't really stick and leave a mark. You can just temporarily do that. So he created a bunch of these Post-it pads. And you know who he gave them to? He gave them to the secretary of the executives. He said, try these. You can take notes of things you have to do. And then the secretaries loved them because they'd keep track of things they had to do for their bosses. And then when it was done, throw it away. And they just loved it. Meanwhile, Steve presented it to the executive team, to the head of the products, the CEO. Like, I have this idea for this adhesive that doesn't really stick and it allows you to kind of temporarily put something up. And the executives are like, that's so stupid, Steve. We're an adhesive company. And what we do is make things that stick. Kill the idea, kill the project. He's like, okay. Then all the secretaries ran out of their sample Post-it. And they're like, Steve, can we have more of them? And Steve said, you know what? The problem is your bosses think it's a stupid idea, and they told me to stop. So if you want me to make more, you go talk to your bosses first. And then so the executives called Steve back in, and they're like, hey, Steve, we're talking to the market, and we think there's a need for these adhesives that don't stick. And he's like, really? And that's how Post-its make it in, is he found a champion that fought for it, that had influence with the decision makers. So think about who you can get to. Who was my champion to get to George Clooney? The little old lady in the retirement home who wasn't his mom, but close enough. Okay? I have another example, but okay. This is a B2B example. I work for this company called Ascend Communications. We sold big networking equipment to carriers, right? And our VP of International thought there was a market to sell networking equipment for people's homes so they could get internet connections, right? And he told it to the CEO. And the CEO's like, nah, that's dumb. We sell big boxes to big players. Well, the VP of International told some of our international customers, like British Telecom, wouldn't it be cool to offer a box so that people could get big internet connections to their home, like we do now, like fiber? And like British Telecom guys, like, yeah, that's a great idea. And the VP of International said, you should go tell the CEO. And the CEO did that. And so the British Telecom guy told the CEO, we'd like a product to go home, right? And so the CEO calls international guy in, hey, the customers are asking for this. I think we should do it. Yeah, right. Didn't I tell you about this idea? So if you won't listen, find someone else to go and be your champion. Remember Feel, the company I told you that does a platform to help people develop applications on blockchain? When they first started, they started pitching to the CEOs. CEOs like, why do we want to buy a platform to develop blockchain apps? But what they did was they gave the platform free usage of the platform to all these engineers to try. And the engineers are, oh, this is so cool. I can develop a blockchain app really quickly without knowing a lot of blockchain code. And so they went and asked their CTOs to buy the platform. Champions. Okay. Something about customer adoption curve is when you launch a tech product in the beginning, the early people are like the innovators. They're the early acceptors. Like, for example, in Tesla, the early adopters were those sports car enthusiasts that, wanted to try anything that's new. And then some of the early people who wanted those cool sports cars didn't care about, how much it costs. But a lot of times between these early adopters and the main market, it stalls. It's like growth kind of goes, shoo, and it suddenly stalls because there's a big gap between these early adopters and mainstream, the majority of society. And this is called the chasm. Okay? And the way you bridge the chasm is that the people in that mass market aren't willing to take risks. They're not as willing to try new things. So it takes a certain amount of education to get them to understand how it works, to get them to understand the value. And then they do it. So, I've had a lot of startups that I mentored, and they got the early ones, and they're like, "Oh, we're off to the races." And then it stopped. It stalled. No customers, no new customers for a year. It's because it hit the chasm. And they found that they had to change their tactics to reach the mass market. So just keep that in mind. So we're going to go to market. When I got to George, I found a champion, a one-on-one person to introduce me to George. You guys want to think about what are the different activities you can do to go to market. Now, the three main activities for go to market are, what do you guys think? What? Cross the chasm. That is a step that you have to take. How do companies reach you guys? Advertising. That's a type of marketing. So marketing is one of the go-to-market activities that you can get to market. The second one is sales. Okay? Basically having a salesperson call. And the third is partnerships. Basically, you partner with someone and your partner is the one that promotes you because they promote you to the customers they already have. So you don't have to go and build a new relationship. Like, oh my, I'm just going to do something fun. Come up here, Jay. Okay, come up here, Max. Okay. And come up here, Elena. Just because you guys don't have to move that far. Okay. So you're Ukrainian. Elena's Ukrainian. Okay. Jay, go stand on the other side. Okay. Now, Max, you've grown up with Elena and you know her. Right? So here's the thing. So you're good friends with her. And Max has a crush on Elena. Should he go and hit on? No, Jay has a crush on Elena. Okay, come on, Elena. Anyways, you stand next to him. Okay. So should Jay just try and go hit on her? Or should he ask you for an introduction? Yeah, because she trusts you. And so if he goes through you rather than some stranger hitting on her on the street. Do you guys get it? Is you want to go through a trusted connection. So ask him for help.
My marriage proposal was rejected yesterday. I'm over her. I am mad for your friend Elena. Who are you? I'm mad for her. I think about her all day today.
That's what you said about Katya.
Could you maybe introduce us? Yeah, of course. Before we do that, you have to pass the test, though. Okay. Right. So What are your hobbies? What are Elena's hobbies? What is your career perspectives? House husband for Elena. Right, okay. And the last one, and the most important one, okay. Do you like chocolate? Yes. Yes, I love chocolate. Okay, so deal. You're gonna meet her tomorrow. Okay. At Three Dragons. Okay. Down the street for dinner. Yeah, for dinner. I'm gonna tell her everything about you, but it's up to her. Mention my six-pack and my yes, yeah, massively.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Did you notice yesterday when Jay was like an unknown trying to pitch to Kate? That didn't work. But when you ask a trusted source to make the intro, it's more likely to work. So same thing, when you're trying to get to a customer, you want to get through a partner that they already trust. Make sense? All right, here we're going to do more about marketing. Actually, I'm going to ask you guys a question. What do you think marketing is? Tell me what you think is marketing. And you can be specific or you can be general. Got it? So Lisa, great. So Lisa mentioned there's a lot of different types of marketing, social media, acquisitions, whatever. Misha? Yeah, like using influencers is a way to market. So the purpose I want you guys to say that is, have you ever seen the story about a blind man and an elephant? So where the blind man touches the elephant, it goes, oh, an elephant is a gigantic tree trunk. And blind man touches the elephant on the tail. Oh, the elephant is a rope. Okay? The thing is depending on what your experience in life is, what your experience in business is, you may have a different idea of what marketing is. So marketing is like the elephant. Depending on what you say, it might be online marketing that Lisa said. It might be influencer marketing. It might be product marketing. It might be positioning and branding, coming up with a brand like Nike. That's a type of marketing. And the reason I'm telling you this about marketing is that I want you to understand that there are different types of marketing and that you don't just say, oh, I need to hire a marketing person. You need to understand, depending on the type of company you are, at the stage you are, what type of marketing you need. I'll give an example. I was advising an Irish startup, and the Irish startup had a very techie product, and the two founders are techie. So I said, you guys, you need to hire a marketing person. Okay? And they were like, okay. They hired a marketing person. 6 months later, I met with them. I go, how's the marketing person going? And they were like, we fired him. I go, why? They said he went and got all these interviews with newspapers and magazines and TV stations, and they were a flop. And I'm like, oh, you guys, you weren't ready to hire a PR person, who gets you coverage. You needed to hire a product marketing person who could help you explain your super technical products in an exciting way. The same way I helped that medical researcher describe his cancer drug in a simple, easy, catchy way. Okay, so depending on the stage of a company, you may need a different type of marketing. So let me show you some of the disciplines of marketing just to give you an exposure. And I don't expect you to memorize this all, but you can go back and look at it and think, oh, we need to hire a marketing person. let's look at it. What type of marketing person do we need? Okay. One type of, oh, actually, one step back. What marketing is from a big picture is marketing is about communications. It's about communicating to customers, investors, partners, media, even to your own company. If your own company doesn't know what you're doing, you're losing some really good spokespeople. And you need to set marketing goals. What are you going to do with this communications? What are you going to convey? How are you going to convey it? Who are you trying to reach? What actions and behaviors are you trying to drive? You know, some people said when you pitch, you're trying to get someone to buy something. That's the case when you're trying to get someone to buy. But sometimes when you pitch, like Jay was pitching to Misha, not to sell Misha something, but to get Misha to introduce him to Olena. Got it? You want to, what is the behavior you're trying to drive? Oh, not Misha. Sorry, Max. Oh my God, Max. Sorry. Misha's already got Kate. Okay, I got them all confused. Anyways, so, and lastly, how much is this going to cost? Is this something you can afford at the stage of your company? If you haven't gotten the funding because you haven't been listening to Jason, then you can't do expensive thing. Like you should be lucky that Max didn't ask you to give him £100 referral fee. So disciplines of marketing include corporate marketing and branding. That's the type of marketing person who's really good at coming up with cool brands and, and catchy logos. And one of the people, you guys will have to do some corporate marketing to come up with a catchy name for your company. Okay. Then marketing communications and PR is the most common one. The one that does the advertising, creates the brochures, does the website. It's what most of us see. It is marketing communications. PR is the type of person who connects you to magazines, TVs, radios, because when someone else writes about you versus you writing about yourself, it's more effective. So you'd rather be seen, well, I don't know, you might probably don't want to be seen in the tabloids, but you'd rather be someone say in The Guardian, there's this amazing new app that really helps people bridge their divides. Okay. And then strategic marketing positioning is more the strategic one where you figure out the business model that makes sense. You figure out the strategy of your company. And, this is the person really helps the CEO figure out on what your company is going to take, what strategy. One that I think is super, super important for startups is product marketing. How do you make your product sexy? How do you make it attractive? Right? What are you guys doing? Your team, Vera? So what? Training people how to use medical equipment like the intuitive surgical machine, the robotic surgery. Okay. So, you guys say we're doing medical training. For what? But we're using VR to teach people how to use complicated stuff in medical. And like, for example, my husband's getting his prostate taken out April 28th. And the doctor said, I'm going to use a robotic surgery to do it. And I'm thinking, this doctor's kind of old. How good is he on robotic? Do you see what I'm saying? But your equipment is going to train these doctors how to do robotics really well using VR. Okay. See, I just did some product marketing there, didn't I? Okay. Channel marketing is if you're selling to people, but let's say you're selling to someone in Ukraine. Okay. Most of you aren't going to go to Ukraine right now, but you really want to reach a Ukrainian market, then you're really going to have a partner in Ukraine and they will sell to Ukrainians. So that partner is your channel to Ukraine. And this type of marketing is putting together the right support, the right tools, so someone else the channel can sell for you. So when I worked for an international company, we had resellers all around the world. Every month, we'd put together a package of materials to send to the resellers so they could go sell our products. And that's called channel marketing. The last is I have here is event marketing, which is how do you go to an event and make the most of it? Most people go and have a booth. That's actually one of the worst things to do at an event because you sit in your booth all day. If no one walks by, you've just wasted a whole day. You've paid all this money to have a booth. And so there's a lot of tricks on event marketing that you can do that are really good, like getting a speaking slot because people will come and listen to you and all of a sudden you reach a lot of people. The problem with the booth is people are coming by most of the time to eat the candy, the chocolate that you have. And then they pretend to be interested. And you spend 20 minutes telling someone about your product, and they're just waiting for, when is she going to give me that chocolate? So branding identity, as I mentioned earlier, is how do you identify and communicate the position and the value of your brand? One important thing is you can only promote one brand at a time. Focus. Okay, so if you say the name of your product is, I don't know, come up with a name for your product. What? Pyrofect. Okay, and what's the name of your company? Okay, you've got the same. That's good. But let's just say you have a different company name, like, no, that doesn't count. Come up with a different name for your company. What? Any name? Yeah. Huh? Yeah, just come up with any name. Oh, any name company. Great. So, yeah, I heard about, so, we see you present and I'm talking about, oh, I saw this amazing company. It's named Pyrofect, okay? And they do this, this, and this. And my friend says, oh, that's interesting. I saw another company and it's called Any Name Company and it's doing the same thing. Do you see? People are confused. And you don't have enough money and resources to clearly promote both brands. So when you come out of the gate, you should only promote one brand at a time so people come back to you and go Pyrofect. And they don't even know the name of the company. There is a dressing company, a salad dressing company called 7 C's. Okay? You want to know the parent company's name? Clorox, bleach. Okay, does 7 C's want to be associated with their company name? No, it doesn't say Clorox is 7 C's dressing because it's a bleach company. Do you see why it's really important to manage your brands one brand at a time? And keep your logos and your naming simple, okay? In Japan, people cannot pronounce L's or R's, the, R, okay? And so if you add a name with L and R's, it's just not going to work in Japan. And most people around the world can't pronounce the juk in Jakuyu. Okay, so don't use a ja. But I can do it in Taiwanese because ja means eat. Okay? And another thing is understand linguistics. So anyone speak Spanish here? Oh, yeah. Okay. I know you do. In the US, we had a very popular car by General Motors called Nova, which means star. And it was very popular. And so they decided to launch the Nova in South America. And no one bought it. Why? Anna, what does Nova mean? No, it's not Nueva. When it says Nova, Nova means it doesn't go in Spanish. So, hey, what's the car you bought? Oh, it's a Nova. Wait, your car doesn't work? You just bought it? Nova. Like, do you see what I'm saying? And it took them a year to figure out why the Nova did not sell in South America. Okay. There's a lot of consultants and experts to help you do branding. 99 Designs is this one where you submit ideas like what you want your logo to feel like, and people will submit ideas. And then you pay $99 to whoever submits the idea you choose, which is cheap. Landor is the company that Ascend Communications we chose to use when we were rebranding, and we paid them $100,000 for a new logo. And it was just a red circle. And okay, us in the company all go, we paid $100,000 for a flaming diaphragm. So, anyways, marketing communications, as I said, is the most common type of marketing. And if you're just trying to get yourself out there, do a website, you want to hire a plain vanilla marketing communications person who can do websites, who knows about, reaching media, who knows how to do collaterals like brochures, and in many cases usually know how to do events. Okay, that's your most general, basic marketing person. The most important thing most of you need early on is the product marketing person. They position and package the product. They describe a technical, complicated product really simply, okay? And they can promote the product. One of the most crazy, amazing product marketing that I ever saw is one year, this one guy came up with the idea of a pet rock. He took a rock, he took some straw, put it in a box, labeled it pet rock, and said, every child needs a pet rock to take care of. And guess what? Us stupid mothers spent that whole Christmas looking for pet rocks. They're sold out. We drove to the next store, and he sold so many pet rocks at $20 for something that cost less than $1, a piece of junk. But this person was absolutely brilliant at product marketing. Do you remember Tamagotchi dolls? Yeah, brilliant. Kid has to carry around this stupid little beepy obnoxious thing. Another product marketing genius. Online marketing, Lisa talked about, today's world, online marketing is huge. It's a lot less expensive than the advertising, buying ads. You go there, you can do search engine optimization, all these different things. And you can actually put under online marketing, sort of overlapping is the influencer marketing. The influencer writes about your stuff on their Instagram, this and that, and you get a lot of exposure. Growth hacking is a technique in marketing, especially online, where you show two different things. Okay? Our department at Berkeley, what we do is we will send out a newsletter each month, but 50% of the people receive one headline. 50% of the people receive the other headline. And then we see who clicks more. Everyone clicks much more on the first one. That's the tagline we put on our website. You see, you get to see which one works, and then you use them. Online market and sales, this woman was selling purses. And instead of buying 1,000 of each of purses and ending up holding a bunch that didn't get sold, she created an online store with these purses and sold them. She didn't have any purses ordered yet, right? And so when a lot of people ordered the Stella McCartney, she knew there was demand, she ordered this. When only 2 people ordered the Vivier, she just responded, "Oh, sorry, this is out of stock, but we have Stella McCartney's in stock. Would you like to buy those?" So she kind of used a website as a way to kind of communicate and gather data and which purse would sell. Isn't that tricky? Do you think that's unethical? Huh? Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of borderline. I don't think it's so bad, but you may. Okay. One thing marketing does is they go and do a lot of publicity and they get a lot of leads. They actually, in some cases, if your product takes an expensive salesperson to go and call and take a lot of time to sell, what marketing can do is check all these leads. and say, wait, this company says they're interested, but their website says they're bankrupt. I don't want my salesperson to waste time with this company. So what they do is they qualify the leads before passing them to sales. Okay, cool. And very importantly, market to different audiences. If you're trying to reach the CEO, sending him or her a brochure isn't going to work. With what we found with CEOs and stuff is you had to invite them to a conference in Bali or a conference in Italy, right? Sending a brochure they won't read. But if you send brochures to like the engineers, they'll read it because they want to learn about a new product. So when you're marketing, think about who you're reaching, and it's going to take different types of tactics to reach different people in a company. Market to your budget. When I was in a startup, I did all these things, email campaigns, referrals, all these things that didn't cost money. But when I launched the internet provider in Singapore, I had a $2 million budget. That was fun. And I could do banner ads. I had our logos printed on all the buses that crisscross Singapore. I had a blimp. Okay, but you have to market to your budget. And so these are examples of things you can do depending on how much your budget is. Yes, Philip? Okay, right now, if you're doing a B2C, influencer marketing. Like you know Kylie Kardashian? She started her company, Kylie Cosmetics, all online, no stores. And she sold close to $1 billion of product because she's an influencer. On B2B, I actually think depending on what type of companies, if you're talking about large companies, you really need to do direct sales. Like you need to call on the person. Like when we sold to AT&T once in one company, we had to fly up to Seattle and keep meeting with the decision maker. And guess what I found out? He likes steak. And so I would email him and say, hey, David, I'm going to be in town. Hey, how about if I take you to Daniel's Broiler, which I knew was the in-steak place for AT&T employees. And it was only like $80 a steak. Hey, but if I got $1 million deal, just, and so B2B requires more sales stuff, and B2C requires more marketing because you're trying to reach more people. Okay? So this is an exercise you can fill out, a form, to try and think about how you're going to reach the different people. Ava? B2G is a lot of connections with people that know. So people who leave the government oftentimes are hired to be the salespeople. Like, someone who used to be in Department of Defense, when they quit, I'm a military equipment thingy, I'll hire that person because that person already knows the decision makers in the military. So sales compared to marketing is about communications. Sales is bringing in revenue. And the foundation is trust, because nobody's going to buy anything from people they don't trust. Like Olena's not going to go with some random person that meets her on the street. She's going to go with someone that, is introduced to her by someone trusts. So we got to start over with Kate. Maybe you need to ask Misha for the introduction. Okay? The important thing is to build trust, you got to know the customer, understand them, understand their need, talk in their language. And the way you can access customers is to grow a network. Then you have more people to introduce. Same thing with investors. You got to go and network and network and network so that you make friends and meet with people that can introduce you to the investor. You go right up to an investor, they get bombarded. So they're like, keep away. But if I introduce you to an investor that I know, my investor, she knows that I will only introduce companies that are good and companies in areas that she is interested in. So I am a qualified intro. Okay, one important thing to understand is buyer behavior. How does someone make a decision? How does someone decide? how long does it take to decide? Okay. And so I'll give you an example. You remember Zach? He's the Tostinos guy. Well, Zach was wrestling with Patrick, the guy that made 2,000 a month playing World of Warcraft. And they're wrestling, and Patrick's phone flew out of his hand and flew into the middle of my Sony Bravia TV. And it spiderwebbed. And I'm like, Zach, you know what? Did I spend my whole life yelling at my sons? Okay. And I decided to punish Zach by not getting a TV. No TV in the living room. No SpongeBob. What? SpongeBob SquarePants. Okay, so no more SpongeBob SquarePants for Zach. Fine. 3 months passes by, and my parents lived in Seattle. I live in San Francisco. And my dad calls me and he says, Gigi, your mom and I are coming down to visit you. I go, great, mom can cook. Yeah, I'm so excited. And then my dad goes, Gigi, I hear there's no TV in your living room. I go, yeah, Zach was being careless. He broke the TV, so I'm punishing him just the way you always punish me. Pause. Gigi, your mother and I will arrive in 2 weeks, and there will be a TV in the living room. Oh my God, it became a priority to get a TV. And then I had to investigate different options of TVs. I looked at Panasonic, I looked at Sony, I looked at Philips, and I evaluated and I decided to buy Sony because I love Sony TVs. Then I had to figure out who I'm going to buy it from. And I decided to buy it from Costco because the price was good and they would deliver for $50. So I did that. I planned it. Costco delivered the TV. And boom, I had a TV ready. What was the time frame that TV got bought and installed? 2 weeks. That was my driver. Think about the companies you're selling to or your customers. What's their driver? If someone is looking to install intuitive surgical robotic equipment and they need to get that equipment to start paying back, they need to train all these doctors to use it. So what is the time frame that they need it? But you also want to know the time frame. How long does it take to get approval in a company to buy something? You think, oh, yes, we're going to get it. Like sometimes when I'm selling something, yeah, I sold it. I don't realize that it takes 6 months and 5 people to approve it before that sale gets signed. That's the sort of stuff you need to understand in terms of buyer behavior. My ex-husband worked for a company and they made a lot of sales. But while they were waiting for approvals, his company ran out of money. And so it went bankrupt. And it went bankrupt 2 weeks before our wedding. And I'm like, we got to cancel the wedding because you don't have a job. But in the end, the company got bought and it did really well. But do you see what I mean? Is think about the buyer, think about how fast they make decisions, how fast they pay, on and on. Okay, partnerships. It's the way you partner to succeed. As I mentioned before, Jay partnered with Max to get to Elena. So there's different types of partnerships. Partnerships is where you do something and you focus on what you're good at, and there's something else that you need to do but you're not good at. You get a partner to do it. An example is product partnership. DirecTV is a satellite company and it provides TV service. And they wanted to get a lot of customers. The NFL, American Football League, they partnered with DirecTV. So DirecTV was the only TV service provider that broadcasts every single game played in the US. Otherwise, the games are only played in their local markets. So if you're in Manchester, the TV will only show Manchester United. If you're in, what's Chelsea? London, whatever, then you'll see only the shows from Chelsea unless you pay more money. But if you're a total addict, you subscribe to DirecTV, you can get to all the things. Do you see how that product partnership, DirecTV got to access all the football addicts? Okay, marketing. Who has not had a Happy Meal in this room? Are you serious? Is your name Lucy? Oh my God, you're way too healthy. Your mom was way too strict. I mean, every kid has had has a McDonald's Happy Meal, and it's marketing. They're not cannibalizing. It's not competitor food. One is a hamburger, one is a brand, a TV brand, and they help each other. When Spider-Man shows come out, you go to Happy Meal. I was totally addicted to Beanie Babies. And so when they had Beanie Baby partnership, my kids at McDonald's 5 days a week. And I collected every Beanie Baby. It was so cute. Okay. Sales partnership is if you don't have access to the customer, this is a startup company. They wanted to sell to large enterprises. They didn't have relationships with the enterprises. And so they partnered with this company, Hyperion. Hyperion already had the relationships with these large enterprises. And so they said to Hyperion, can you sell our product? And Hyperion, sure, we'll sell your product and we'll take 10% commission. So when the Hyperion went to the customer, they said, here's the products you buy every year. We got a new product called AppThority, which provides security on devices. Okay? And they go, sure, we trust you. We'll take it. Boom. And that's how AppThority got their product sold, by going through a channel that's already trusted, the customer trusted. All right? So great. Anyways, you're ready. You've got your go-to-market plans. Your product is tested. Your marketing plan is in place. You've packaged your product, marketing materials, PR, sales plan. Okay. Now that you've put in your go-to-market plan, you are ready to launch a product. And who wants to come with me to have lunch with George? Nobody? How about Cristiano Ronaldo? You don't like him, Kate? He's so cute. Okay. Anyone want to come meet Cristiano with me? Okay, I am working on a plan to get to Cristiano. All right. Thank you. And when you think about your go-to-market plan, right? You can start thinking about it, and we can talk about it during the mentoring time. How about how? All right. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna
and clients who used to work with us in Ukraine. And this is how we brought this trust to the new country. And children, the most, I think, just how do we say, the most precious to anyone, just came with us. We didn't have the facilities, and we didn't have yet, just the trust with Oxford University as well. And Mr. Clark, he negotiated, and it was Lady Margaret Hall. We were in Lady Margaret Hall, where just Oleg was performing, and that was English through drama. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
And that was extraordinary. You saw those young children. They are now Oleg age, I think. Timur and Mikhail, they unfortunately, just they can't leave the country. They are now stationed in Ukraine, waiting for the war to be over. They are listening to us, and it's very emotional, because I hope it will inspire them as well and motivate. And will motivate with Oleg's story, because it's extraordinary. And this is what I want just to say, that we reached out to Oleg in 2023 when he already successfully graduated from UCL. And Oleg accepted our invitation to join wonderful Gigi's bootcamp in California. And that was, just a great experience. And after that, when we keep traveling back and forwards to Ukraine almost every 2 months, we picked up Forbes, and we read a wonderful story. And this was, the story of Oleg, who managed to raise funds. And he found it at that time when you were already in California. You had already, but you didn't yet. You only were about yeah. So it's like you are now the real business to come. What is it? Yeah. Would you like to say?
Yeah, just a couple of things really. We talk about startups and doing things. And opportunities. It wasn't planned to move back to Oxford and take college. I just had a phone call one day from somebody I know, a friend of mine who worked at leading sixth-form college, and said, "Would we be interested in taking over a college in England?" I said, "No, I was quite happy. I was flying around in private jets and top hotels, advising people elsewhere." And he said, "Well, it's right in the middle of Oxford." So that was in 2010, and in 2011 we ended up taking over the college. But the previous owner, during the negotiations, it was a bit over 9 months, had sold off a lot of the properties, run down. He'd sold off all the accommodation. And we tell the staff, "You can't use that boarding accommodation anymore, I've sold it." And it was really haphazard, to the extent when we took it over in the October, I think there's 3 students, and we were literally dragging students off the street. And then we just developed it, built our own accommodation, which we're now extending to 84 bedrooms. But it's hard work, and it's tough, but it's rewarding. And the one thing I will add, and Gigi said, and Peter and a few other mentors will tell you, these people don't suddenly start up and make $1 million overnight, or be a billionaire overnight. It takes, most of the people say, it's at least 10 years. You've got to keep going and be resilient and believe in what you're doing. That's the key, is to believe what you're doing. And we've always believed in the type of education that we provide, which is essentially one-to-one in very small groups. And it works. And we hope Oleg is a product and will do well in his life. So over to you, Oleg.
So I guess I'll just sit and start presenting. Thanks a lot for actually doing the introduction for me.
a little bit, but I will just go through the quick main points before actually been here from 2014 to 2016 chair role, and from focusing mostly on politics and economics with high hopes to do actually something in Ukrainian government. But with time, going to the university, so Southampton first and then to UCL, I've decided that I want to try something a bit different. As most of you are still students, I've tried a few internships in London, finance, I've seen FMCG companies, tried working in London, private equity fund. It was quite good, but, I've always wanted to do something.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, I do.
Does she put on the microphone?
I can still hear it. So.
It's fine.
Oh, great. Good. Yeah,
So we
so
just move that close to you, just so
Yeah.
the microphone is on the table next to you. Yeah.
hopefully everyone can hear us on the video. And even before COVID, just finishing UCL, actually started my first business. It was quite fun and allowed me to learn a lot. We were selling tours to Chernobyl in Ukraine. Just the HBO TV show just was launched, and a lot of demand happened from the UK, and we've managed to sell quite a lot of tours for mostly British guys going to Ukraine, and it was quite fun. And then COVID hit us. And to be honest, I'm very grateful that at the end I'm not in the tourism business, especially now in Ukraine. But it was a very good experience. We actually opened our first entity in UK, and I've learned how to do a lot of things from accounting to marketing. My first money which I earned during my internships. And it was a great journey, and I've been helped with some people, including Maggie, who is here today with me. And overall, I've learned something and decided after COVID hit to do something else. And it's kind of nature came to me that we should start something related to mental health. And we have launched Plesa Therapy, a mental health company. We were first a Ukrainian-only business. However, we quite fast switched to the regional, international level. And I will talk about it more in a second. Importantly, and thanks to Gigi here and Helen Steven, actually visited Berkeley Bootcamp, which I've heard all the lectures you guys hearing, and I think it helps a lot, to be honest. So you already heard today about death valley of startups, and when you start the company, you kind of do the P&L probably. At least like I've been told that you should do a P&L, and you should build quite a clear plan, months over months growth, 10%, all good. Well, to start, we had to do 3 pivots. Like at first, we launched in November 2020 with an idea to do a B2B EAP, like employee assistance program, / mental health program for Ukrainian large corporations. Few months after, we have realized that actually it's not very good idea, I think. Why? Because we were actually trying to contact some people. We've talked with some people. We've gone through a few tenders. However, companies, as Gigi was saying, decision takes at this stage maybe a year, maybe 6 months, but a year. And I was very, very late. I was willing to do something now. So we decided to switch to B2C model. And apparently B2C is super, super, super hard. It's like super hard. And especially when you're just like ex-student, you just graduated, and you have very limited amount of money. Me and my founders, maybe we had $20K together, which we earned working at previous jobs. And we decided, okay, let's do something with this B2C stuff. And we just launched a first version of our website. And it was super, super, super sad. It was a sad moment of my life, it wasn't good. But actually people started buying something from our website. And like design was shit, like UX was shit, everything was like super shit. But people actually started buying something, even though my customer acquisition costs were super high, like unrealistic to survive. And then we started talking with customers. And of course you have to talk with customers all the time. But at that moment, we realized that if people are buying, that's great, but why not a lot of people are buying? Let's talk with them. They realized that the main pain point for them was, there are numerous marketplaces already which were like you could choose a therapist for yourself. Numerous. It's like not a new idea, especially in UK, US. BetterHelp has been existing for already at that time 8 years, I think. But people thought that what they're lacking, they don't understand how to choose a therapist. It's like they don't want to think about that. They want to be provided with a choice. And that's why we pivoted again. We hired another developer guy. This was super, super expensive for us at that moment. Now it's like peanuts money. But at that time, it was quite expensive. We've changed our backend, we changed our front end, and we have created a platform matching system essentially. So you do go through a filter of questions, like 50 questions, importantly, like not quite 10 questions, but 50 questions. And then we recommend you use the best therapist just for you. So it was super cool. And overnight, after 3 pivots, we launched ads. So the next day we have a new customers, and the next day we have a few more customers. Like by the end of the month, I know that like I'm on something. It's working, it's cool. And we've grown from 0 to 10,000 monthly sales, probably $10,000 monthly sales in probably like 3 months. And then the war hit, obviously, Ukraine. And at that moment, we were mostly working with only Ukrainian-based Ukrainians. There were, of course, some Ukrainians living abroad, but still most of them are living in Ukraine. And when the war hits, and God bless, you will never experience that, business stops, obviously. You have to survive. Your community of therapists has to survive. Your founders have to survive. They have to do stuff to survive. And a lot of things happen with people. We have a founder who kind of disappeared, due to his own personal issues. We had people who, essentially stopped working for us because they were like too busy with doing whatever. So like, we were like literally, if you could change this picture to the Death Valley, like you lose this picture. We were almost there. We were like 2-3 weeks of cash left, like probably less than that, like no cash left. And then suddenly people started booking sessions again. Why? Because I guess they settled already at that moment of time, because it was like a month since it was started. So a lot of Ukrainians, they arrived abroad already, or at least they kind of built their routine again, which was very interesting. So yeah, suddenly March was like almost zero sales, and in April we've grown significantly. And we got quite lucky, to be honest, and I'm very grateful for that, because in March, Google for Startups, they launched Ukraine Support Fund. So they launched $5 million fund to support Ukrainian-only startups who are doing something important to help Ukraine, or just not even maybe to help Ukraine, but there were Ukrainians doing some business. It was good enough for them. And we applied, and it was, very like interesting process for me, because we applied, we had one call, and in 1 month I received like DocuSign NDA letter, like, please sign this NDA. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sign an NDA. It doesn't tell what it is about, but it was a right NDA letter. Just you say that you won't tell what's gonna happen next. I'm like, okay. So I signed this NDA letter, and then next letter from DocuSign is for $100,000. I'm like, good, equity free, like $100,000 equity free. And it's good. And apparently we were chosen as one of the first Ukrainian startups by Google to get support when the war started. And it was in May. And at the same time, we also applied for Poland Prize program. It's like local Polish governmental program. And we received 60,000 euros at the same time as we got the money. So, at that moment, after this huge Death Valley thing, we suddenly have like $160,000 euros to a bank account in May/June, like after 2 months of dying. And it was our pre-seed essential investment with equity free. We got super lucky, like I don't know a lot of startups who managed to pull it out. And another part of our journey started. internationalization and bootstrapping. So I'm gonna tell you one thing, guys. If you think that $160,000 or euros, whatever, is a lot of money, it's like actually not a lot of money. It's like you can burn it in like 2 months, 3 months now. So it's like you have to be careful with the money, and we were super careful, I hope, with that money. But still, it took us. I think we burned it through the year, and of course we were earning money at that point. And we decided that we need to launch in Poland as soon as possible, because we wanted to launch in Poland even before the war started. But now, being in May, June 2022, it was clear that now we get the money. It's our only chance to survive, is to launch in another country which is not affected by war. So we started doing that, and it took us maybe half a year to launch in Poland. When you launch in a new country, it's like lots and lots and lots of regulations, of laws, of everything, which you cannot really predict. Because unless you talk with lawyers, unless you talk with local people who know the stuff, you're not gonna know what you should do at the end. So yeah, it took us maybe half a year to start operating in Poland, but it took us another half a year to understand the Polish market, to at least start generating some money there. And from that point onwards, I think we started growing super fast. I think we were right, and we were like understanding at the right time that marketing is not only about performance campaigns, because in B2C world, very often, and you would see it a lot with apps, with subscription models, it's only performance, right? So only about conversion rates. When you sell mental health, it's not only about it's not only about conversion rates. It's about brand, and you start learning what is brand. You start learning how to actually tell your story to your customers, because conversion rates is not going to help you with this type of market. Because at this moment, we got quite, I think we're number one, number two in the Polish market, depending on how you look at that. In Ukraine, we had solid second, third position, because we focused on Polish market, which was a correct decision to do. And now we are launched in Romania like half a year ago. And once again, we are learning that without brand, without some kind of customer awareness, not always you can only look at conversion rates, because then you can have great conversion to sign up ratio. However, conversion from sign up to actually buying a product will be low. And with apps is usually quite different. And yeah, so, but at that moment still we were launched in 2 countries, we were launching a 3rd country, and we decided to fundraise. Doing the pause here to there's a dramatic effect about fundraising. Fundraising has been super hard, and you've probably seen a lot of memes about fundraising in 2022. Especially for company from Ukraine, with lots of founders being in Ukraine, with most of the team being in Ukraine. So it was a very, very, very wild ride. However, and I will explain it a bit later on my next slide, that in the fundraising world, what matters a lot is your reputation and network, because you won't believe how small the world is. Because, just an example, Helen here, apparently she knows one of my angel investors, and I've realized that only after that angel investor invested into me. Like, people completely from different parts of my life, completely. Mary here, also Ukrainian, I've known her for 4 years already, but she's here today for, apparently, because the startup world is so small, and startup world is super small. And if you're fundraising, everyone in the market will know about that, and your reputation will guide what's happening with your fundraising. But to cut this long story short, we managed to fundraise in a few batches. Overall, the last round we raised is approximately $1.5 million. And before that, we raised 300K altogether. And we closed this round just literally like a month ago. We're still getting some money to then start growing even faster. And to give you a little bit perspective on our actually growth, as you can see here our valley of death, I would say, as when the Ukrainian war started. Then we had less money, then we had some more money, some more money, significantly less money due to our mistake on our marketing part, and we lost 30K in monthly sales due to that, and it was very bad for our break-even part of life. And then, this month in March 2025, we hit $300,000 in monthly sales, which is 3.6 annualized yearly sales. And we're hopefully gonna get to 7-8 million annualized later this year. And you can see actually here, just before March, you see we've been stuck at 250 for around 5 months. Why? Because we actually were in the fundraising process. So we were trying to cut costs to survive for longer. And then you see this in February, due to again like some changes in how we were doing marketing, we were like 220 in March, 300K. So you can guess at which month we actually got our money, right? It's quite clear from this slide. So, and only in March 2025 is the first month when I kind of feel safer a little bit. Why? Because before that, it was mostly bootstrapping. It was mostly, surviving with my own money and a little bit of angel money. And from March, we've decided that we want to do this more venture part of the story and grow super fast. And that's about us. But I do have two important example, like stories, lessons, whatever you want to call it, super important, which I think people hardly teach you anywhere. So the world is super small, as I mentioned, and everyone watched Shark Tank, right? Shark Tank, especially Americans. They love Shark Tank. It's an amazing show. It's fake. It's not like fake, but people still come there, real people. But how possible is to raise money in this way? That you come, you talk with people, and they write you a check. It's pretty much impossible. It's like TV show, it's like American Dream, whatever, not working like that in most of the times, unless, why I'm saying the world is small. My first angel investor, who became my friend at that moment, Vadim, he's been founder of another marketplace, much larger than we are now, but he has 10 years of experience. He found me on his own LinkedIn. He just messaged me, hey, let's talk. I'm a founder of a marketplace. You're also doing a marketplace, let's talk. So we talked even before the war. He continued messaging me. He continued giving me some free advice. And at one moment, he's like, I want to invest into you. I'll give you like a small check for like a reasonable proportion of the company. A little bit. The valuation was definitely smaller than it could have been. So good for him and good for us, definitely, then. But he was like, I'm a founder, I'll help you. The best decision I've ever done in my life, probably, apart from, choosing my partner life. He decided to invest into us, and then, he started helping me with business model, with growing. Great guy. Trump vibes here, great guy. Yeah, so and then he introduced me to another guy, another mental health, not mental health, but marketplace owner. And we talked, and a year passed, and we talked again with this guy. And he's like, he messages me for me after the call. Hey, you know what? Actually, I've got some money now. Do you want like another investor? I cannot invest a lot, but I can give you some money. It's going to be good. And the founder of another large Ukrainian marketplace invested into me like that. Once again, for the first guy to invest, it took a year of talking with me to trust me. Then another guy, he talked with me a year before investing, but as soon as he had some disposable income to invest, he actually messaged me and he invested. Then this guy, in 1 month, he introduced me to another investor, very prominent in Ukraine, CEO and CEO of largest telecom in Ukraine, and he introduced me to him. And in a month's time, not a year now, but in a month's time, this guy invested into us. Then this guy introduced me to a few more people, including a friend of Helen here, and then they all invested in a matter of months, 2-3 months, but the momentum started happening. So, and then this guy also, half a year after some of his angel investor friends also invested in us, he introduced me to another, also CEO of one of marketplaces in Ukraine. So we have like probably 5 marketplace CEOs on our team, probably explains some of growth here. But then this guy, he introduced us to our first venture fund. And it was in Lisbon at the Web Summit event, Web Summit 2024. And at Web Summit 2024, I meet one of the best Ukrainian/global funds, and also meet one of another super well-off angel investor at Web Summit at one day. And on Wednesday I meet them, on Thursday I meet them again, on Monday I get an offer from one person, and in 2 weeks I get an offer from this prominent fund in Ukraine. And then it follows, and we get another third fund to join us in a matter of a few weeks. But I've been telling you this. So all the fundraising pretty much which has happened to us has happened because someone trusted us, someone introduced us to someone, and it's not like they were like just random people. They were all from the industry. They were all well-known people, but we needed someone to trust us first, and that's how it works. Maybe it works different in San Francisco. Maybe it works different in UK. But if you are in, how would say, Europe, mainland Europe, that's for sure, people must trust you. So whatever you do, your reputation should be perfect. And it's super important. Your reputation matters the most in this world because at the end, our latest investors, they decided to invest us in a matter of 4 days. And the first guy has been thinking for a year. But my reputation, our growth, of course, has helped us significantly at the end to do that. And I'm pretty sure now that if I would decide to fundraise again, with the network which I have now, I can do it in a matter of a month again. Which is like, depending, of course, if we're gonna grow, which is super important, of course. So that's super important. And whatever you do, you don't know. Maybe you sit with someone here today. Maybe this person will work in a fund in a few years. Maybe this person will allow you to do the intro to another startup. So super important. And second part, you need your John McClane. You need your guy who's gonna be like your savior, not a savior, but who's gonna believe in you and is gonna fight for you. And that's about founders and early employees. Because what I've learned from my time, and we've been doing this for almost 5 years. So we started thinking about that in 2020 in November. So 4.5 years. Your co-founders and the early employees maybe even more important than founders sometimes. Like, they are the people who's gonna decide whether you succeed or not. And we had, as I mentioned, one founder who disappeared when the war started for personal reasons. And we managed to do this situation in a friendly manner. So he was very friendly in terms of like his vesting and stuff, which is super important. It was mentioned before about vesting. Obviously, we have the shareholders agreement, vesting, everything must be written or you're like in big trouble. So essentially, we've managed to do this vesting part and stuff, and only those founders remain who truly believed in the idea. And my founders are super smart, super amazing, super dedicated people. But when you start working with founders, especially as I was the first time business maybe owner, but I was definitely a first-time startup owner. You're not expected to be the best, like not at all. Like so when you start a startup and you're young, you're not supposed to know how to do marketing better than everyone else in this world. You expected to know how to do some marketing. You're expected to know how to speak. You're expected to know how to survive for some time, but you're not supposed to be the best coder ever or the best marketing guy ever or the best whatever ever, right? So it's like, and we've learned it the hard way. Your first employees whom you actually start paying, you maybe you're gonna do some option pool for them. They must be the best. So if you start hiring people who are not the best, who are just good enough, like super junior guys who don't know what to do, and you don't know what to do, it's gonna like really change the situation for you, and it's gonna take a lot of your time just to start doing that, in my own opinion, at least. And we've tried both. When we had zero money, and in Ukraine, no one does option pools pretty much. Like some people, maybe they do option pools, but in Ukraine, no. The problem is that in not only Ukraine, in the CE region, no one really believes into option pools, because you can name Ukrainian companies which successful option pools, with probably one hand or something. I'm not sure about a lot of companies. And mostly it's like US stories still. So we had some people who are like good, but they're not the greatest. They were doing a lot of mistakes, which we would not realize that it was a mistake like long after that. And at this moment, I realized that maybe even also after visiting Berkeley, because I was impressed with the quality of people there, that you need the best people to work for you, and if you have to pay them a lot of money, you pay them a lot of money. If you give them a lot of option pools, you give them a lot of option pools, because you need the best people to work for you to succeed. And so you need John McClane's, like the best guys there, like probably several John McClane's, which should be quite good. Yeah, so that's my part of the story. If you have any questions, please ask those questions. If not, just been a pleasure to talk here. Thank you.